Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ. And this day, it is Friday, and we've come to the end of our weekly discussion about the hero's journey and the heroine's labyrinth. And here on Future Friday, of course, tabletop role playing game channel, we absolutely positively have to talk about science fiction and role playing games and all. I mean, how many times have we referenced like Star Wars throughout the week? Even though we were talking about fantasy storytelling and that sort of thing. So of course we have to talk about this in a we have to talk about this subject matter in science fiction, and uh, this being the seat of the pants. Um, this being the seat of the pants show, boo, 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 we absolutely uh, have to have some examples here. Sorry, I have ArtStation up and just some examples of space stations and things of that nature. And wow, Thunderbird's Go. What was a puppetry miniaturized stop motion flashback that is. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. All right. Sorry. Oh man. You just gave me the a couple of member berries. I appreciate that. So what we're going to talk about today is of course using this framework in science fiction, and because I like to do this seat of the pants, I really didn't want to give it too much thought, but I'm feeling like science fiction actually lends itself more towards this new labyrinth storytelling framework than the hero's journey. Not that the two don't exist simultaneously, but they are. And also, we're going to take a look at the hero's journey is actually been described as being than larger than 12 sections. And I'd like to introduce you to the 17 uh, stages of the hero's journey in writing. And one of our co-hosts here, Drudenfuzz, has made the point that it's a little bit colonial. It comes across as, with the hero's journey and then the opposition to it, the heroine's labyrinth, that it's kind of gender specified, and I'll show you where that comes from, and of course the way we can take a look at this without it specifically relating to one thing or the other. So here I'm on a masterclass, and it talks about the 17 steps of the hero's journey, and uh, of course for those who are just let's see if you could see this a little bit better here. Yanking says that makes sense. A setting like Star Trek, the hero's journey doesn't always make sense, but because the implied in the hero's journey is that there's of course normalcy, there's a transformation of the character, and then when they come back they've learned some big revelation, whereas like Star Trek is a and maybe we could talk about this before in another um, live stream, but Star Trek is like utopia punk, and one of the aspects of utopia punk is that yay Drew, one of the aspects of utopia punk is that the hero doesn't, it's either liquid or concrete, right? Heroes tend to be liquid or concrete. So our protagonists tend to be liquid, meaning they start at one method in their life and they transform, and we watch that transformation. They learn skills, they learn to trust when they couldn't. They become brave when we think they're afraid, and then they transform. And so they are a liquid character. They are unformed. The puzzle pieces get put together. At the very end, we see them fully formed. Or concrete. So concrete means the character actually does not change. Captain America is actually a very good example of this, where we do see Captain America transform from weakling to strong hero. But Captain America doesn't transform in the Marvel movies. Instead, the world around that character changes. A lot of times, you have noble characters, characters with a, strong sense of identity, and the world around them is the one that shifts. And Utopia Punk is like that. Essentially, it's not the internal conflict, it's all external and is always a reflection. That's what Star Trek was basically about. Star Trek was this unexplained perfect utopia, and then they are going out into the greater world to discover what's going on. And in Star Trek, the heroine's the Labyrinth storyline instead of the journey is actually very appropriate, because what happens, the crew goes out into like a labyrinth of type world. They don't know what happens, and they often uncover the Minotaur, right? They unmask the Minotaur many times. They Star Trek has been to many utopian planets and find out that it's really evil, or they've met clashes with evil aliens and violent aliens, and come to find out that there's a bigger reason as to why they're that way. So, yeah. Zamar says, I would argue that at least for classic Star Trek, the character going through the hero's journey isn't always the main character, or even a solo character. Sometimes the journey is applied. Yes, I absolutely agree with you. And to the side character in the story, or to the antagonist, or to a race or species, and we watch that journey through the lens of the main character and his crew. Yes, we actually took apart one small aspect of the hero's journey, and the refusal. One of them is the refusal of the call. In the hero's journey, there's like a refusal, like, I don't want to go on the adventure. And sometimes it's the main character, but other times it's like an outside source, like um using Star Trek as an example, it could be some admiral somewhere is like, you shouldn't go to this dangerous place. And then the crew is like, yeah, but we must go, right? The refusal of the call. TA says there we go. Hopefully my internet holds up for the show. Yeah, we're supposed to be getting a little rain here in Ohio Valley pretty soon. But okay, so the 17 steps of the hero's journey, as outlined by Joseph Campbell, is the call to adventure. Okay, so you have mundane life, and then you get a call to adventure. Star Trek's a perfect example of this. They're usually holed up somewhere doing very common things within their world, right? Yes, it's far future, but they are drinking in 10 forward. They are sometimes they might be home somewhere on the vineyard, whatever. The refusal of the call is number two. Unwilling to step out of their comfort zone or face their fears. The hero initially hesitates. This hesitation could be any number of things, where maybe the crew isn't ready to leave. There's only half the number staff crew, or the ship isn't completely finished. Usually there's like a reason not to do the thing, but the decision to do the thing has to be done anyway. We only have half our fuel. We don't have coordinates to get back. That kind of thing. And it could be just a general, you know, uh, hey, captain or something, we must go here. And the captain's like, I don't want to put everybody in danger. And then we get a little bit, of course, we get a little rundown of what the dangers are. And in tabletop role playing games, it could be, hey, characters, you're space marines, you need to go to this distant location. Oh, by the way, here's the dangers. And the marines are like, we don't have any backup, we're not going to get extracted, blah blah blah. Well, you better go anyway. Supernatural aid. A mentor figure gives the hero the tools, inspiration they need to accept the call to adventure. We mentioned before that the mentor doesn't need to be an old crotchety elder. It doesn't need to be that way. The mentor is the aid that guides them. So it could be, what is it? A broadcast signal, or a staticky recording about what's happening later on. It could be an AI or a robot, is often very common in science fiction. Crossing the threshold, where they embark on their quest, and then it's called here is the belly of the whale. The hero crosses the point of no return and encounters their first major obstacle. And usually the point of no return is where we get to see the adventure really happen, right? Like they go into through a nebula, they hyperspace there, they enter into the gravity well of the planet. they enter into the chambers of the alien race, knowing that the doors slam behind them. Uh, very classic. You got to have the trope of the empty space station or starship, and the PCs have to go inside, and there's no place back. The initiation is where our heroes are tested. So there's a road of trials. The hero must go through a series of tests or ordeals to begin their transformation. Often the hero fails at least one of these tests. And this is where we get to see, especially in pop culture, where the hero fails at least one of these tests. We often see this in pop culture where the crew goes into a dangerous location, and we are given a series of dangers that one or more of the crew will fail. So if it's crags and rocks, one of them will almost fall off of a cliff and get grabbed by an ankle or the scruff of their neck before they fall to their death. We may get floating dead bodies or something, and someone is scared that there's going to be a jump scare. So we're being prepped for the jump scares that are happening in the zero gravity empty space habitat or something, and a number of other things as well, whether it's environmental, like traps, debris, things like that. Here's these four. Although they are renamed, this is where where we get the impression that the hero's journey is genderfied as well, and that's meeting with the goddess. And this is where the hero meets like an ally on their journey. So this could be Space Academy and they meet a best friend. This could be traveling to an alien world and one of the aliens becomes part of the crew, or at least temporarily becomes like a guide or works with them. Usually as an ally, and when they meet these allies, the allies they're not mentors. They don't know more. They just know a different aspect of the world that they're in. Number 8 is I'll get to you guys in just a moment. The woman is temptress. It's number 8, and that is again, this has been renamed and recontextualized because you actually don't need the part where it says woman is temptress. You could just put something that's tempting. So the hero is tempted to abandon or stray from their quest. Traditionally, this temptation is a love interest, but it can manifest in other forms as well, including fame or wealth. And this is where this is the classic Star Wars, right? Han Solo. Oh, money? Princess? Okay, well, sure. I'll take the cash and get out of here, right? Sometimes also it might just be, I think this temptress part, the I believe this is just another test to get the hero to go back home. So this may be, hey, one or more of our people died. Maybe we need to just get the hell out of here, right? It's too dangerous for us to be here, and we're already deep in it. Maybe we can actually turn around and go back home. And I think that's what this is as well as the fact that you could have one or more crew members be tempted by a number of things, whether it's wealth, fame, safety, reputation, power, that kind of thing. Atonement with the Father. This has been recontextualized, which is why you often see it as 12 steps instead of 17, where the hero confronts the reason for the journey, facing his doubts and fears and the powers that rule his life. This is a major turning point in the story. Every prior step is brought here and stems from this moment. And if this isn't one character, this could be, is this appropriate for player characters? If they're really into the role playing part, this is awesome. And this is where like, oh, the character actually confronts their fear, or the character confronts their we this is played so often in Star Trek with the give and take of having emotions and keeping your emotions in check with the Vulcans and humans. We see this Star Trek said done over and over and over again. Confronting like, well, in our culture, we don't have emotions. We're just pragmatic. And then they're given a situation in that's where they come head to head. Apotheosis is as a result of confrontation, the hero gains a profound understanding of their purpose or skill. And this is basically the hero transformed, right? They learn their place, they learn their skills, they step up to step up to do the thing, and they learn their skills and that they can do the damn thing. All right, we're done with that part, and then there's a return. All right. Let me go back to everything that you guys have to say. Here we go. Okay, so Druden says the temptation is a test indeed to get the hero to give up. Yes, and now again, as I was reading, it's very gender focused, but it doesn't need to be. It's basically like, whatever's on the other end of that adventure. Here's the thing, it's the in fantasy, it's the dragon going, I can give you what you want. The fiend speaking in their ear, I can give you what you want if you just turn around and go. We see this in a ton of action movies where the the crime lord or whatever is like, I'll pay you. You don't have to do this, or we can join together. Right? That's very, very common. Um, the End King says woman as temptress in most stories is a bad thing. In horror, that's when the entire audience yells at the hero to get out and run. Yes, yeah. Don't. Why are you running? Why are you going upstairs? Why are you entering into the basement by yourself? Right? And Terminator, the Terminator movies, the Terminator can mimic the voices of loved ones, and then they are tempted to go forward, or to go into danger. I hear my, child, best friend, loved one screaming out in pain. I'm going to go find them. Everyone is like, no, you need to stay still, right? Um, uh, Again, I think it has a lot of parallels. We're going to get into the Heroine's Labyrinth in a minute, but it has a lot of parallels to that because the idea of unmasking the Minotaur and the masked Minotaur in science fiction is super common. Just all the seat of my pants, I'm thinking like, wow, it's actually more common than a little bit. How many times have we had crew members in science fiction storytelling turn on the rest of the crew for some one reason or another? Or they are put into a position where they're not given all the information because of some um, outward influence, political, corporate influence, scientific, experimentation. Yep. Wayne says Han was tempted into the journey, not wanting any part of being heroic. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, Han actually took the tempt. If we look back at A New Hope, Han took the temptation. He left. He got paid and went. Now he came back, but yeah, Han was just like, whatever. All right, I'm out. If you want to be like that, fine. Huff and puff, I'm leaving. Right. Druden says the temptation can be being simply the villain trying to bribe or otherwise buy off the heroes. Yep. Yeah. And TA says from a certain point of view, politics would be so much better if politicians quoted Star Wars. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Made very simply. So the end part of this, the return, is where you get, this is an example of continuing to tell the hero's journey over and over again. So um, this is where during the return, the refusal to return back home. This is often seen in war movies more often, but this can also be refusal of return. Could be um, an infestation, a bacterial, viral, biomechanical infestation. Like the hero defeats the villain, but what if some of our crew is infected? So that might be a refusal return. Also, it could just be war torn area. Like maybe they've seen a part of the world that if they return home, they can't keep their mouth shut, and just like, this isn't utopia anymore. We've just been our culture's been exposed, and it's not right anymore. And should we go back home? Or if they go back home, literally, it might be, would they get arrested? Have they rethought their lives? Things like that. Um, Lastly, in science fiction, not too many stories include this because it's very difficult to emulate. But time dilation. Someone goes back home, and their loved one who was in their mid-20s is now in their 80s. Magic flight, the hero must escape the object of his quest, evading those who would reclaim it. This is often common physically done. The magic flight is often done where there's a collapse, explosion, implosion, falling through a portal, falling to a black hole, that kind of thing. It's often like the hero has the object of the quest and they evade. It could be uh, prisoners, it could be an alien artifact, it could be a computer program, that kind of thing, and they have to get out of there. It could be giant flying eagles, little bastards who couldn't, drop the ring into the mountain, 5 minutes. It took them 5 minutes, but whatever. I'm just being sarcastic. The rescue from without. So, mirroring the meeting of the goddess, the hero receives help from a guide or rescuer in order to make it home. And this rescue from without often is used where one or more of the individuals who were very against the heroes doing what they needed to do arrive and then help them out. So we get this where the single starship passes the enemy lines, goes behind enemy lines, does their thing, and on their way out trying to escape, you see the armada comes and finally, arrives to support them. We see this in just plain old modern day uh, hero's journey, where the detective goes after the serial killer, and then when the serial killer is finally captured, all the other police officers and the FBI or DEA and all the law enforcement shows up, things like that. This is crossing the threshold, return to the threshold. The hero makes his successful return to ordinary world. This is where you get a classic hugging of all the loved ones. They step back home and knock on the door. And then there's the master of two worlds. We see the hero achieve a balance between both worlds. And then there's the freedom to live. We leave the hero at peace with his life, but often gets pulled back into it. And then we talk about here examples of the hero's journey. We get into Star Wars. Of course, there's Star Wars, right? Yep, ordinary world with Tatooine, teleporting off this rock. Yeah, Call to Adventure with R2D2 plays Luke a message of distress from Princess Leia. Refusal to call. Yep, Luke isn't thrilled about leaving his home planet and getting in trouble. But of course, the mentor shows up, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Crossing the threshold, Luke and Obi-Wan leave Mos Eisley for Alderaan. I always thought that it was I felt like the threshold crossing was going into the cantina because Luke is primarily the main character, and when he goes in the cantina, it's alien to him. So that's just me. That's just me. And of course, the ordeal, rescuing Leia from the Death Star, and Luke losing the Force to kill Death Star. And then he returns. Luke joins the Rebels, decides to become a Jedi. And then we have the Matrix again. Ordinary programmer by day, Neo at night. Call to adventure with the White Rabbit. Refusal to calls. Not sure if Trinity's telling the truth. Actually, we see this in the Matrix when the refusal to call. Morpheus tells him to basically step out onto the ledge of a building, and he's just like, hell no, and then he gets arrested, right? And we find out a little bit more where he's pulled deeper into it. But yeah, he's on the phone, and Morpheus is telling Neo, like, step out onto the ledge of the building. It's okay. You're fine. You'll be all right. It's like, hell no. And of course, the mentor is Morpheus. Yep. And gives them a choice about the blue pill, red pill. Yeah. Okay. Ugh. That's been pulled into common day socio political things. Of course, we have crossing the threshold, takes the pill, the ordeal, accepts his role as Neo, and then a return. Neo tells the machines he will defeat them and save humanity. And then we got Lord of the Rings and Fellowship of the Ring. All right, so I'm going to go over here, share this, and go back to what you guys have to say. Yep, there is no spoon. Yeah, Henry King says, yes, happily ever after is often unrealistic. That's why, that's what's so great about it. That's why I love them. So many dudes love the movie um, The Notebook, because it shows the happily ever after where the couple sticks together into their elder life, which is a little bit more realistic than just walking off into the sunset. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Sorry, I read one of the TA's comments here. Oh man. Smart says, I love Druden's idea. I will steal that for my next TTRPG campaign. I'm trying to run a war campaign where the players end up deep behind enemy lines, scattered because they lost a battle. That's awesome. That's awesome. Starting out like that, yeah. Thus, she completely does not trust the hero and ends up literally walking into a trap with the Terminator. Yeah, yeah, talking about the term. Yeah, mimicking the voices. I think they have to hear the voice, and the Terminators have to hear an example of the voice to mimic it. We're at that point now, so whatever. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, talking about Isaac on the hot. Thomas Aaron says, "Ha." Isaac Arthur talked about um, speed of light and time dilation and laid out just what all goes on in reality versus the expectations. Yeah, time dilation. Faster you go, the slower time works for that individual, and the rest of us just age normally or age faster for that person's relative uh, time span. Yep. Yep. Z talks about like the temptation. Yep. Y'all are quite powerful. I will grant you land and amnesty, or become farmers for one of the local lords, or we send a portion of your armies, our armies, right after you. You choose. Right. It's always like, what do you think? And we see that a lot of times in the hero villain, uh, um, the hero villain dichotomy. Right. There, our heroes go out there and at some point, if we've got a pretty civil big bad, they'll offer that thing in the journey. Talking about the labyrinth. I'm sorry, in the labyrinth, there's a oftentimes there is a truce or made. Druden says the hero's journey is just unrealistic. If it is a soldier story, then it is then it is not that the hero lives peacefully ever after, but that they have to deal with PTSD for the rest of their lives. Yes, I think that's why classically the hero's journey has that last portion, which is the return home. That's the PTSD part of it. That's the, do I belong here? It's the Ramboization of the story, right? Like, I've gone off the war. Do I even belong here any longer? Thomas Anderson says, what would you consider the threshold crossing in the movie Stand By Me? Ooh, threshold crossing. A little difficult to say if it doesn't fit quite into the hero's journey. I would say maybe because they were going on a walk, maybe the threshold is where they've gotten further than halfway to the point where the return home would be longer once they pass that halfway point, right? So if they were walking for like 5 hours, once they got to the 2.5 hour point, it's like we can go back home now and be home by dinner, or we can keep going forward, right? There is no spoon. Mm-mm-mm. So funny. Yes, happily ever after is often unrealistic. That's what's so great about it. I don't know what's so great about that. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, the End King says it's the Rambo portion. It's also the hobbits looking at the Shire and realizing it's filled with strangers now. Yeah, that's the return home. Now, for player characters, in a way, subconsciously player characters will do that. Fantasy gaming, we have character levels, and usually tier one is like homeward bound, and tier two they start to move on. So more often than a lot of times player characters just won't go back home. They will just become they will embrace their newfound positions in life, knowing that they're going to live in extra dimensional spaces and airships and go to distant worlds and pretty much not go home. Now, the other part of that is player characters tend to want to go up and beyond and tend to not really have homes. That's where the murder hobo part comes from. But they all start the journey with PTSD. So let me for those who don't are not familiar with this, we're going to go through this very quickly. um this has been created by a guy named Douglas A. Burton. There's a couple of podcasts out there who contends that there isn't only the journey, but there's also the labyrinth. And he's contextualized this as the heroine's labyrinth because many ancient stories up until modern day tell this from the woman's point of view. But he says, like, for example, the Dark Knight is Batman, and in the movie The Dark Knight is a labyrinth story, not a journey story. So this is an alternative to the hero's journey, and there are different parts of this. Very quickly, is defined as you define the labyrinth, you navigate the labyrinth, and then you solve the labyrinth. The labyrinth is some unknown space, either underneath or just outside of the community. There is a truce between there's a truce between where the labyrinth is and the culture inside. Basically, we stay here, don't go to this other dangerous place. There's also often a social master minotaur where there's an evil beast like entity that is hidden amongst the community. And our protagonist knows who it is, but nobody else believes it. It's usually someone who is a social paragon, who smiles and talks the talk, walks the walk, but no one will stop them. But our hero, our heroine, in this context, our protagonist knows who it is. The matriarchal paradox is that our protagonist very much wants to keep the community safe, but to keep the community safe, they actually have to break the rules to do it. And they know that if they break the rules, they won't be part of the community anymore. And then, of course, there's a call to adventure. Something happens in the labyrinth that calls them out, and then they enter into the labyrinth. The labyrinth, usually a confined location that they have to navigate maze like. We brought this up before, but in science fiction, the labyrinth is often empty space station, alien world, zero G habitat, uh, being part of a new crew, graduating the academy and going on to a new crew. The labyrinth is not knowing what the hell's going on there. Going on with the talking about the labyrinth, the cult of deception is that there's one or more agents who understand that there's lies being told and they want to keep the lies going. This is often very much a part of like a bureaucracy, corporate, military, criminal organizations. They just keep it going. There's often three chambers. The three chambers are basically the equivalent of the three tests in the journey. In the labyrinth, there's usually three chambers where they uncover secrets, and there's often a chamber guardian. Chamber guardians don't necessarily need to be battle like fighting, but it could be an AI system that doesn't want you to uncover something. It could be a ranking officer in the military, or this space naval organization that doesn't want you to uncover something. A chamber guardian could literally be in a drama movie, a distraught family member that has clues of their diary and pictures, and they don't want you to see that and don't want to relive the pain of their lost one or something. Beast as ally. Often the masked minotaur and the beast often seem identical, but they aren't. The masked minotaur is a beast, but they are disguised. Beast as ally is everyone fears this individual or creature or robot or whatever, but it becomes an ally for our main character. Sympathy for the other. This is where the character is surrounded by allies who seemingly don't have very many skills, might even be holding back our main character, but our main character knows that there's something special about them, and then they become special at the end. Of course, we have here the tradition breaker. I mentioned before that I think it should probably be moved into the first section, but our character breaks tradition to do a thing. There's a truce between our main character and the masked minotaur, and the masked minotaur says, hey, if you promise to do this thing, we can all just live in peace, i.e., the evil person says, calm the hell down. I can offer you fame and fortune or a place by my side if you just agree with me. And they're like, no. The poisoned apple is in classic stories, the woman is knocked out and poisoned by ingesting or being in um, um, having something injected into her. So this is often like knockout gas, a poison needle, something like that. Knocked out, trapped, and then being given, you know, being challenged by the masked minotaur. And then, of course, our hero unmasks the minotaur and then comes back home. So when they come back home, it's home as battleground. Science fiction character starship comes back home, in orbit. Everyone's looking on television to see the big battle. Sometimes coming back home is just getting back on their starship or a space habitat and running and gunning through the hallways or whatever. Maybe there's like a rogue asteroid heading back home and they've got to chase it or whatever. The shield maiden moment is where our heroine steps in front of our innocent and steps in front of our bad guys, our masked minotaur, and is basically like, no, I won't let you hurt this person, often sacrificing herself or offering the opportunity for the beast as ally and sympathy for the other to step up to then protect to help the shield maiden protect the innocents. And in this context, it's not written here. um Richard Burton talks about the sacred flame, that our heroine has a sacred flame that other people want. And in Star Trek, I think the sacred flame in Star Trek is actually utopia very, very often. But we also have characters that have like psychic abilities, special weaponry, um, uh, pass cards that give special access or something like that. So there's usually like a sacred flame that's used to help with the shield maiden. Of course, you slay the minotaur. Sometimes the heroine does that. Sometimes she leaves it up to the beast as ally or the simply for the other to slay the minotaur. But she's not really interested in that. There's atonement with self. Did I do the right thing? And then there's the master of the labyrinth. That new alien world. We're now friends with those aliens and things like that. And that's where the labyrinth storyline comes through, which I like it. Let's see. Our co-hosts here have to say, yeah. Samara says, yeah, yeah. The chamber guardian can literally be a door with a lock. I agree with you. Yes, yeah. It could literally be. I mean, just trying to break a lock, right? Hacking the lock or something like that. Oh man. Mm-mm-mm. The N King says players making heroes with no homes and no ties. Now I want to make a D4C who's adventuring and killing kobolds to make alimony payments. Ouch. Kobolds wouldn't like that unless the kobolds are like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, yeah, I get it. TA says the DM will have to have him come in on to kobolds fighting, and he realizes this is a married couple, and that the male's definitely getting a raw deal, causing him to empathize with the kobold. So wrong, so wrong, so right. So Wayne says, what do you think of all the stories where the hero solves a problem, but what they go through ends up killing them? I think there's more impact in that. Um, that's still a hero's journey, right? Just because things don't turn out, the, the hero's journey doesn't need to be sunshine and roses at the end. Uh, the part of the hero's journey where they return home sometimes means that they just don't go back home. It's the proverbial classic samurai versus the knighthood story. The knight often slays the dragon and comes back home and is rewarded. In the samurai stories, they give up their life, and that sacrifice of life is the culmination of their journey, right? It's the culmination of, yes, I made the decision to do the thing that I needed to do. I could have gone back home, but I'm not gonna. I'm choosing not to, right? I'm sacrificing myself. And technically, that is the return home in the sense of, do I belong back home? If I go back home right now, would I be seen as a coward? Now that decision could be made in the in the span of a split second, but through the hero's mind, they're deciding my return home is going to be my memory, not my physical body. So, yeah. Yeah, so I think it still applies. Danny King says, "Does a labyrinth have to be linear? Because physical labyrinths are circular, right? Can we ever go back and forth between defining and exploring? No, no, no. The labyrinth doesn't. This don't take the labyrinth um as a rigid thing. The labyrinth is young girl from small town moves to big city. The big city is the labyrinth, right? Don't confine it into it's the labyrinth is a maze like place that in the beginning our protagonist doesn't understand what the hell's going on. And eventually they're just like, "Oh, I get it now," right? You move to big city, I don't know who I can trust. I don't know where I'm going. It's a lot of noises, no one sleeps, there's crime, blah blah blah, and then someone pulls them in and goes, "Wait, wait, wait, wait!" They get an ally. Listen, listen, you know, bright faced, big eyed individual. Before somebody comes and tears you apart, here, let me show you what this place is about, right? Mike says, so most sci-fi, especially where there's crime or gray morality, would be a labyrinth. Minority Report comes to mind. I agree with that. Um, Mi- Minority Report would be I think Minority Report for our main character is where the Minority Reports the pre-crime is doesn't work the way he thinks it does. But uh navigating if you wanted to make it a labyrinth story, I would say navigating the we see okay. Um our main character runs from the runs from the law because he's accused of murder in a pre-crime, and then you see him he's like jumping on those cars that were like the highways were 360 degrees going up and down the sides of buildings and things. He's running through dark alleys. He's going into he went into a automated warehouse, that kind of stuff. I think that's kind of a labyrinth. And also he's navigating, who do I trust? I've got this psychic person with me with the sacred flame that everybody wants, that kind of stuff. Thomas Anderson says, however, their attempt to solve the problem, making things head towards being worse, is the only way to see for everyone the problem is caused on to see it through the wrong to to see it is the wrong thing to do though. Oh, you're saying like if I could break apart what you're saying, it's like, hey, this is the wrong way to go, but you still have to go through it. No, Vulcan Death Grip. Vulcan Death Grip could be a sacred flame as well. Somewhat. Druden says, I think it's okay that the tradition breaker is not in the first part since it is already the change the heroine has to bring to society. Ah, okay, okay, okay. I'm with you there. You're saying like the the the, the heroine leaves home, breaking the, breaking from society, and then gets into the middle of the story, and then becomes the the rules breaker to do the thing. Jude says the Sacred Flame in Galaxy Quest is the Omega 13. Yeah, the MacGuffin. Yeah, I haven't seen Galaxy Quest in a long time. Mike's like, yeah, Glass Cannon literally has a divorced fighter who's dealing with the fallout of that live streaming. Um, Mm-mm-mm. Wayne says tragic heroes sent back by a wizard to kill Vecna in order to prevent his remains, which have caused so much sorrow, from coming into being, not realizing that is the event that caused this to happen. Yep. So the heroes both end up succeeding at failing at the same time. I love stories like that. Oh, Ghost Dog. Yeah. Mike says, you mentioned a samurai sacrificing himself, and all I can think of is, damn, Ghost Dog was a great movie. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Why'd you shoot me in the same hole? I didn't want to make any more. Yeah. And his best friend in Ghost Dog, his best friend was a gentleman, ice cream salesman that spoke French or like French patois and didn't. They both understood each other, but couldn't understand each other. It's kind of cool. Yep, Druden says, I would say Minority Report is a great labyrinth, including demasking the Minotaur and all that jazz. And and come to find out, remember Colin Farrell's character was Beast as ally. So Beast, he's this hard-nosed law enforcement person who hates pre-crime, and I'm gonna shut this damn thing down and question everything you're doing there, John Anderton. And then comes to find out that at the end, he's the ally, right? Whereas the head of pre-crime is the masked Minotaur. So yeah, Mike Gould says the Labyrinth is Minority Report. Labyrinth and Minority Report is the vision of the woman being drowned. Yeah, they go over that vision again and again. Actually, they sure do. It's only spoilers when he realizes the recording is mirrored that he solves the labyrinth. Yep, yep. And I now remember this gentleman that came up with this labyrinthine framework is still going through changes and dips and turns, being challenged on it, openly being challenged. Like, is this really a new thing? But I like it. Um, Whether anything new for me personally, I'm just like, yeah, I'm down for this. Now, in science fiction, when it comes to the labyrinth, I think a lot of times, as you guys mentioned before, and I didn't even think about this, what you mentioned before is that I think all of these parts can be spread amongst a crew rather than a single individual. So if we go back to the beginning here, the labyrinth defined, usually the labyrinth is, well, they go, our main sci-fi characters go into places unknown. They go into the alien space station. They go to the alien world. They um uh, are they travel to the megalopolis city to solve a problem. The culture truce is, you know, we have certain rules of engagement. Don't break the rules of engagement. And of course, you know, the masked minotaur, that could either be somebody on their um, who seemingly is on their side but isn't. What's a movie? Pacific Rim, the second Pacific Rim movie had a master minotaur, big time, right? That kind of thing. In the first Pacific Rim movie with giant robots, we had agents of the giant robot um, kaiju Jaeger society talking about shutting the system down and blah 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 because their own program with the giant walls is the one that wanted to be funded and things like that. Um, there's also the paradox as well. Maybe our crew members are like, well, we want to do the right thing and we want to protect everybody, but we need to break the rules to do the thing in the first place. And so, how many times have we seen, you know, let's delete the fact that I don't know, you went down the hallway, so we have to do this a little bit heisty to get you from A to B. We've seen many crew members we stick them into a box or something and hide them, or they wear an outfit to sneak away, or lie to the commanders to get some of the crew down onto the planet, even though they're not supposed to, or communicating through back channels or things like that. Of course, we have the call to adventure. Uh, what's the biggest trope? Rescue signal from distant place. We have to go. They sent out a stress signal, and then of course entering the labyrinth, and of course a darkened, half powered blinking light. You know, I guess they never used LED lights in the future, but yeah, blinking fluorescent tubed lighting in an empty space station or something like that. Very common. Um, and then of course going through all the labyrinth, the cult of deception, people helping to lie to confuse our main characters. Alien, the Aliens franchise. How many times has Ripley been lied to? First it was what was it, Ash, the robot Ash, you know, lied, and then in the second movie she thought it was Bishop, and then instead it was, you know, Paul Reiser, you know, the corporate person. But yeah, cult of deception there. The three chambers, often in a crew, sci-fi crew. Sometimes each member confronts a different chamber, and those chambers do not need to be rooms. So maybe one person does try to unlock a door because it's sealed, and they hack into it and they get into the room and they find there's, I don't know, dead alien bodies in there. There's data that needs to be downloaded or something. Maybe another chamber is the crew is down on the planet talking with the regular people, and they're like, "Oh, they sent a distress signal, but there's nobody in danger here." And the chamber might be a cave that they've been hiding other colonists in, or an ancient artifact that's been hidden away or something. There's like it's hard to get to it. Maybe the distress signal came from a starship and it fell down into a. They pushed the aliens pushed it into a crevice and was hoping no one would find it or something like that. Again, the chamber guardians can be anything. They could be ghosts or AIs or robots or um, heck, Q, an immortal, extra dimensional, super powerful, uh, quantum linked individual who's the guardian that's like questioning the crew and stuff, and so on. Beast is allied, turning a robot or an AI system into their friend. It could be Robbie the robot, Lost in Space is a perfect example of Beast as ally. Everyone, literally in the Netflix series, the alien, when they were glowing, they had the eye was glowing red, was trying to kill humanity, and then the little kid saves the robot, and the robot's little eye face turns blue, and then he kind of shifts into more of a humanoid looking, just two arms, two legs instead of multiple arms, insectoid, and becomes an ally. And then there's sympathy for the other. The entire Lost in Space crew was about like the kids stepping up and becoming more growing into maturity, and others looking at each other like, hey, you're still family, let's do this thing. And then someone steps up and stuff. And then it's tradition breaking. You're supposed to be the girl, you're not supposed to be out here rough and tumble. And she, she comes tougher. The 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 the, the guy who's just breaking tradition, and it's like, "Oh, I'm going to stick with the aliens, I'm not going back with the crew," or things like that. So we get in all this ton of stuff. Let's see what you guys have to say, because I'm not that smart. Mm-mm-mm. Let's see. And Z, where's Z? Come on, come on, my chat, move. There we go. Sorry. The End King says, Thomas, that line about the tragic hero reminds me of the leader from Seven Samurai. I've fought in many wars, always on the losing side. Ouch. Yeah, the End King's multiple versions of Ripley have been lied to. Yeah. Ugh. That it's become a trope, right? In those things where someone's always getting lied to. Marco Tasune, hey, kind of hi, what's up? It'd be interesting to use the Labyrinth comparison to talk about nonlinear story structure in games. Take the BioWare formula where you have an intro section, a call to action, a hub of different locations that include several subplots with companions gathering the pieces needed to then go to the final confrontation. Um, I don't know if that's technically non-linear. I mean, in a video game, you get to decide what to do, so the direction you go tends to be how you formulate it. But yeah, I mean, could you break this apart? Sure, absolutely. Oh, yes. Okay, I get it. TA says, it was what I do will make it worse, so I stopped interfering. That's not that's not necessarily a bad choice. Sometimes the hero, our protagonist rather, has to go through, right? Like, wait a minute, if we keep doing this thing, we're actually making it worse. Why don't we just stop? Right? Zamara says, I just got a heist idea. Tell the players they have to steal a thing. Give the players a map of the place. Mark out the most direct route for them to do it with a list of information. Okay. Um, of what to expect on that route. Then start the campaign with the players at the start of that route. Let them play a quarter of the way into the route before something blocks them. Yeah. And then watch as the players have to struggle to figure out how to move forward using the map and their partial information from their planned route. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Smart. Let's put it this way. Um, uh, Well, there's a term from Einstein, and I'm gonna misquote it. He says, um, let's see, unintelligent people don't know, intelligent people know what they know, and geniuses know what they don't know. I think it's something to that effect. Uh, I know there's I know there's like a wooden plaque that you can put on your home with the live, laugh, love kind of thing with that in it. Mike says if we look at Terminator, the original one, it's a time loop. Trying to kill the Terminator grants humanity the chip that creates Skynet in the first place. In this case, the labyrinth isn't solved. Or or rather, it's revealed to us. It's not revealed to our main characters, but it's revealed to us. Yeah. That's the labyrinth. Um I would say it could be a hero's journey. I think Sarah Connor goes on a hero's journey. She goes from zero to hero by the end of that movie, the very first Terminator movie, and then um, in the second one, you could call that a labyrinth because there is a beast as ally, the Terminator. There's a masked Minotaur, the shape changing or morphing Terminator as well. Um, she breaks the social. She breaks the social truce because she has to protect humanity, but at the same time, she has to break the law the entire time. Um, Sympathy for the other, her son, she's protecting her son Connor, not realizing that he probably has more capabilities than she realizes. Hmm. June says, "Yeah, samurai drama uh is a great genre in itself. Being on the winning side is boring. There is no glory in that. Too bad that L5R too often went to the boring story and not for the tragedy. Yeah, that I think that's what why samurai stories draw us in because it feels like it feels like it undermines the classic journey of the hero, but I don't think it does. I think the hero that sacrifices themselves for their honor is being tested, and at the very end of it, they go, "No, I'm going to follow my honor. I'm not going to go back home." That's it's return with your shield or on it, right? Um, so yeah, yeah, yeah. Mike's like, yeah, I've played heist games before. The first step is abandoning the plan. Yep, the obvious route is always wrong. Yeah, Mike makes the point that in the Terminator series, Sarah Connor has a great line in Terminator 2 when she realizes the Terminator is John's perfect father. Yep, and she realizes. I mean, at that point she realizes what she needs to do, and that's when she almost sacrifices herself. She in a strange way she that almost becomes her shield maiden moment when she goes to want to sacrifice herself and kill the scientist that ends up designing the Skynet system. He doesn't realize it, but ends up helping to fuel that, and she leaves them. And then there is a shield maiden moment where she basically steps in front of the T1000, and she steps in front of it and does her shield maiden moment where you're not getting through, right? We see this with Ripley, where the aliens coming after Newt. You know, she does the she's the does the oh, what's the exact line? What? How does it begin? Not you better back off. Oh, you better off, you bitch. I can't remember I can't remember how it begins. Ooh, right it's on the tip of my tongue too. But yeah, she does that. Yeah. Ooh, Seven Samurai. You guys talk about. The End King says T2 is a story of two heavy role players traveling with a power gamer who just says one liners. Yeah. Yes. I just tap me on the shoulder. I will roll dice for combat. Just get away from her, you bitch. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yes. Yeah. Just get away from her. Yeah, she does her shield maiden moment. Yep. Now, let me hard maneuver back into and accelerate the warp 9 back into sci-fi fantasy role playing. I believe you guys are absolutely right that a crew could take all of these journey and labyrinth sections and break it up into different parts of the crew where each of them is being challenged in a little small part to come back together. And but I really do think the labyrinth idea actually fits a lot more into science fiction in the sense of yeah. Oh shit. The End King slow clap on that one. Yeah. You were John's perfect father. Cry. Drama moment. Okay, DM, I reload my guns. Initiative. What? Where's the initiative? Hey, throughout the entire adventure, the DM's just rolling his eyes and like, oh, yes, I'll give you a bigger gun. Thanks. I mean, I had a shotgun before. Can I get a better gun? How about an M16? That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. Where am I gonna? Can I get a Gatling gun? Can I get a grenade launcher? Here's another one. In the rules, it says when I use a weapon, I don't have to do lethal damage. I can just knock them out. And this DM's like, you can't knock somebody out with a pistol. You can't knock somebody out with a firearm. Yes, I can. And then the heavy role player is like, well, you could shoot him in the legs. You mean every shot's going to be a kneecap? Fine. Michael says, yeah, that's aliens. Get away from her, you bitch, is the line I live for. Yeah. Yeah. That movie is so tight. It meaning that everything that happens in the aliens movie happens that they foreshadow earlier. And I love the fact of how tight that movie is. I mean, heck, she um um um, okay. Um sorry, alien movie, going through the labyrinth to find. If you go through all these aspects, it's all in there. So in aliens, we absolutely have it right in the middle section, the cult of deception. um she is Ripley is challenged multiple times because she's in one chamber where she's attacked by the face hugger, which is trying to stick its proboscis down her throat. She's challenged when the crew of the Marines are taken out one by one, and she has to drive the 4-wheel drive armored vehicle to safety. And she's challenged when she has to go back into the deep bowels of the destroyed colony with Get Newt. She tapes the guns together, and she has to walk back out. All of those, and of course, what's the Chamber Guardian? It it's everything from reluctant Marines to Paul Reiser and Bishop having to navigate around them to, of course, the alien at the very end. But Beast's ally is one of the Marines, Michael Bean. Simply for the other is Newt. She's used for 17 days. We ain't gonna last 17 hours, right? Um, that kind of thing. Yep. And then Home is Battleground. Home is getting on that damn ship and getting the hell up out of there. And she steps in front. She does her shield maiden moment. She slays the Minotaur. Yep, yep, yep. Thomas Anderson says, yep, that movie kind of was the end of the show for me. For 3, they abandoned Geiger's input completely, which was so sad because he has some really good, interesting, and alien concepts for it. Yeah, I think we all know that the alien face hugger is male and female genitalia with a tail and 2 hands, um, 2 humanoid hands, and in the middle of it is genitalia with a it he was trying to design a way that was intrusive assault. It was like what's the term used on in YouTube? It was humanoid grape by an alien. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, like the ports on the alien being used by it to express his emotions and such. Yeah, the little I don't know sensory breathing ports on the side of the alien. It's hard to explain. Yeah, there's actually an aliens comic called Labyrinth, Labyrinth, where they investigate how xenomorphs communicate. Ooh, yeah, and there's an aliens comic. Mm, 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 mm. You guys so silly. The facehugger is great, pure and simple. Yeah, 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 yeah. It sure is. That and I they wanted to extend it to the male figures, the overly testosterone male figures in the show, and Geiger wanted to have that, and I was like, yeah, that's awesome because it's scary and it's nasty. Oh man. Okay, so long story short, we love ourselves some sci-fi tropes. We do, and the hero's journey, the journey itself, very common, very simple. I think is a great framework to design. To design your going out into the unknown and the characters changing or being changed by their experiences and coming back home, I think is very common. But I think the labyrinth really should have a place in science fiction. And I believe that we get to see this more often than a little bit, especially when when we are telling speculative fiction stories. So not just traveling unknown stories, but speculative fiction, where science fiction is often used as a mirror for our own society in terms of what's the show? The Orville is a great. Yes, the Orville is a absolute positive homage slash copy of original Star Trek. But if you haven't seen the Orville on Hulu, please check out that show. It now, mind you, it went from super comedy like the first season, then they eventually it moves into a very dramatic television show. But the Orville's a great show, and there's a lot of labyrinthine stories in that one where they constantly go to these new meet these new people and go on these new trips, and they have to navigate their way socially and physically through a region to uncover what's going on, and then realizing that it wasn't what it seemed to be. Yet Dark Horse Comics teases my brain just described their logo, which was the Black Knight, so to speak, or basically a horse head that was black. Yeah, for Dark Horse Comics. Yep. Dark Horse Comics was amazing in the 90s. They had Aliens, Predator, Godzilla, and they were great comics and not cash grabs. They also had Hellboy and other stuff. Yeah, those are good old days. Yeah. Yep. Yep. It's a natural part. Although yeah, yeah, TA is like, yeah, humans make everything terrible and evil, sadly. That seems to be like our specialty or something. It's like weird. There's always I was just having a conversation with one of the neighbors the other day, and it was just like we just have a propensity. There's always, no matter the situation, there's always somebody to ruin it for everybody else. Um, which is my definition of modern day politics. She's like, it is sad to say when I learned how to breed rabbits. So bad. But anyway, mm-mm. Ducks, otters, and dolphins, the cutest creatures until you get to know them. That's pretty bad. So, guys, we come to the end of the show. Always going, going outwards, further, deeper. Not sure what we're going to talk about next week. Um, some evidence has come up about a news article about Dungeons and Dragons starting their own live streaming programming network. Let me see if I can find this here. Variety, variety, um, Dungeons and Dragons. Let's see if we can um streaming service. Let's see if I can find this article. Here we go. Since we oh come on, cookies, damn it. So here we have an article. Nerd Immersion just released this video, but I thought I'd share this guys with you. Dungeons and Dragons free 24-hour streaming channel set to launch this summer. And there's a new acronym that we're unfortunately going to have to learn called FAST, Free Ad-Supported TV Streaming Service. Free Ad-Supported Television, or FAST. From Hasbro's E1 to include original series, episodes from 80s animated show, Dungeons and Dragons Adventures. And you can listen to some of the Hasbro's Entertainment One, or E1, is rolling the D&D dice, betting that Dungeons and Dragons fans will flock to a new, free, ad-supported streaming television or FAST channel dedicated to the fantasy franchises prepping for a summer launch. The Dungeons and Dragons Adventures FAST channel is expected to be available on a number of platforms, but E1 has not cut any distribution deals as yet. So we don't know if it's going to be like Apple, Roku, Google Plus, Samsung, Amazon, Amazon Prime. We don't know where it's going to be. Fire Stick, we don't know. The channel will feature a slate of original celebrity-focused, unscripted series, including Encounter Party, Faster, Purple Worm, Kill Kill, and Heroes Feast, as well as a catalog content including the 1980s Dungeons and Dragons animated series. In addition, the FAST channel is to feature third-party content from top internet creators and influencers with a focus on live gameplay. This is an amazing opportunity to create highlight exciting, engaging Dungeons and Dragons content to both serve our wide audience of existing fans and welcome a new wave of fans to the community. Said Dan Rawson, Senior Vice President of Dungeons and Dragons at Wizards of the Coast. We look forward to bringing this channel to life and continuing to build out the thrilling D&D universe with even more content, partnerships, and innovative formats. There's no details on who these third-party people will be, but probably the biggest channels, Dimension 20, maybe not Critical Role, but they might bring in like a Cubicle 7, Glass Cannon, places like that. The FAST channel will include episodes of the animated Dungeons and Dragons series that originally aired from 1983 to 85. Let me copy this and put this in the chat. Paste. Sorry. There we go. It's in the chat. Okay, so Encounter Party, from the creators of the podcast of the same name, follows 6 returning professional actors and improv artists from the original podcast and welcomes new cast member Kyrie Payton from The Walking Dead as they role play an original D&D campaign with original characters set in the world of Forgotten Realms. Then there's Faster, Purple Worm, Kill Kill is described as an improv comedy spin on classic Dungeons and Dragons gameplay. Each episode features a party of first-level characters, replete with backstories, accents, theme songs, and more, marching to their certain deaths as they face beasts against which they stand absolutely no chance. The series features a revolving cast of special guests and celebrities, including series creator Matthew Lillard. Heroes Feast, based on the recipes in the best-selling cookbook, is part talk show, part cooking competition. Each episode features the show's 2 hosts, culinary hero Mike Haraz and first-level cook Sujata Day, prepping dishes for a revolving pair of guest diners. That's it. Let me go back to the top here. That is it. So that's something new for Dungeons and Dragons Adventures. Just want to give that out to you. Just saw that today. Just literally, I think Nerd Immersion just posted a video maybe 2 hours ago or something. You guys talk about that. You guys. You guys are talking about the what? I literally nearly lost a nipple to one of my rabbits when it freaked out in my arms. Oh. Yeah. You already got one slow clap? I have new content to not watch. Yeah, I don't know what they crazy. It's amazing to me the the absolute idiocy and stupidity of the people over at Dungeons and Dragons, Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, whoever was responsible. If they had never done what they did at the beginning of January of this year, all the stuff that they're talking about now, we would be salivating over. If January hadn't happened, everything from February on, we would be like, wow, a virtual tabletop that looks this good, a Dungeons and Dragons channel just focused on just Dungeons and Dragons, awesome. Yeah, 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 oh yeah, dude, yeah. I'm not. Yeah, the N King says I'm not hanging out with the Pinkerton people anymore. You hired Pinkertons? The people who are literally known as being assholes? Like what? They're the Pinkertons make money on the reputation that they don't have, that they get the job done. And if it means that they have to use gray, legally ambiguous, towing the line tactics to get things done, what they get, that's the whole point. Why would you do? You couldn't make a phone call? We didn't go through this. Oh my god. Um, Somebody receives magic cards that they shouldn't have. So you couldn't send they didn't answer the phone. Yeah, because most people don't answer the phone. You couldn't drive by or send someone there or contact this person with an email or a text message or their YouTube channel that they have and just go, hey, this thing that you have, you really shouldn't have it. Can we have a discussion? We'll gladly give you your money back and give you some free merch and invite you to what? Oh my God. If January hadn't happened, and I know it sounds poisonous coming out of my mouth to other people going, oh, I would have never been it. If January had never happened, and Dungeons and Dragons start revealing a streaming channel, including party partnerships, a virtual tabletop that was going to be, virtual. What is it? Unreal Engine. All that stuff. Oh, people would be into it. We would have Bob World Builder and Dungeon Craft and the Dungeon Dudes and all these big nerd immersion and all these big ass channels, Sly, Flourish, and everybody talking about it and almost promoting it. And we wouldn't have the fracturing that we have today, where everyone's trying to figure out, well, what content are we going to do? Pathfinder, selling out of books. We wouldn't have any of that stuff. Mike says, I became suspicious when Watsy said they were changing everything, yet everything was to be backwards compatible. So which is it? Are we changing or staying the same? Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah. Yeah. You can't everyone's trying to you want to stay evergreen, and staying evergreen means everything has to be backwards compatible. The problem is like the 10-year lifespan of the mall. At a certain point, every role playing game just gets old and stale. Everybody's already purchased the books. Everybody who didn't want to buy the books isn't going to, and you can't print more books because people already have the books. So you need a way to keep people interested in it and learning about it and promoting it and marketing it and having fun with it and all that kind of stuff. And it's very difficult to do that without a new game. So you want to make a new game that is the old game. Yep. Yeah, TA says like kind of like the Budweiser people who should have stayed out of the culture war, but because they did, and subsequent actions, now they have everyone on every side mad at them and boycotting them. Yeah, it's yeah. I think people just took that too far. I think Budweiser shouldn't have done it the way they did it, and I think people were just overreacting. Right? I mean, you have a choice to do what you want, but it's just like I don't know why people care about other people's genitalia. It's just weird. The End King says the Pinkertons are Chris Tucker from the beginning of Rush Hour if he never had character growth. Yeah, yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, Mike. Then the OGL, then the public fuckery they broadcast. Yep. Then the double speak interviews, then the Pinkertons. Yep. Yes. Don't forget the apology tour. Yeah. Yep, the double speak interviews. Yep. Mm-mm-mm. Done with Watsy. Yeah, me too. I'm done too. I probably won't buy a book. I well, the books actually haven't been that good, so it's not like it's not that hard of a decision, right? Uh, Wayne says you should see some of the internal emails and social media posts by Watty employees. I was turned off of spending money on that that company a while ago. It's just a lot more than January for me. I think it was what would you call it, like a culmination? The volcano exploded. Yeah, the End King. The most insane thing is they called Pinkertons on a super fan. Yep, they could have held out a hoop and had him do tricks. Hell yeah, that's what I was like. Wait a minute, you couldn't get a call by a senior exec or design team and go, hey, dude, listen, I know you're a fan of the cards and what Magic Gathering cards. We made There was a big mistake along the way. A distributor gave you these cards. We need to ask you to take the video down, but in return, here's what we'll do. We're going to give you maybe sheets of uncut cards. We'll fly you out with a plane ticket. We will give you an interview on your channel. Maybe we might promote your channel or whatever. Some bullshit. Something easy. How easy would it have been to do a Zoom friggin' call with a couple of senior execs or a design team and go, hey, dude, we're sorry, but hey, how about we do an interview with you and you interview us or whatever? Dumbass. Or here's another thing: ignore it. Fucking ignore it. So what? The cards got out early. Sneak peek. It was a mistake. Whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Zamar. Knock knock. Yeah. Knock knock. Sorry, we accidentally sold the toy cards you shouldn't have had. Here's an NDA. Yep. Sign an NDA. Keep them for free. Here's the pack you meant to buy. Please take down the YouTube video. Duh. Duh, 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 duh. Right? Email, NDA, take down because legally they can make them take down that video, right? It's their property. Although I think legally the person that made the video was like, "Hey, you sent it to me. I didn't. It was an accident. I didn't steal it, right?" But with a super fan, you couldn't ask a super fan, "Here's some merch. Here's some other what? Hey, here's a pack of like I don't know, 50 rare cards worth, I don't know, 5 grand or something. Here you go, kid." Kid, he's an older dude, but whatever. That guy's channel blew up. I think he had like 3 or 4 thousand subscribers before this, and it's probably double or triple that by now. Idiot. Deadman says the Pinkertons are involved because one of Watsy's execs in a family member, in a family member of Pinkerton exec. Yep, that's it. That is why. Yeah, yeah, yes, yeah. Two of the Pinkertons execs came from Pinkertons. Yes, I get. You know what? Let's see here. If I was a member of the mob, I don't need to call another mob boss to get my neighbor to see if I could borrow you know, um, their lawnmower or something like that, right? Just because you had members that were members of the Pinkertons doesn't mean you need to use them, right? That's yeah. It's so weird. It's so weird. Yeah, Wayne says, doesn't federal law state if a company mails you something with your correct name and address, it's yours? I believe so. Yeah. I'm not saying he had to give the cards back. They should have never asked for the cards back. Just give him what he originally ordered, ask him to take the video down, and then give him his money back even. Here's what you originally ordered. Keep the cards that you already have. Can you take the video down until X date and then give them some other thing? We'll send you a t-shirt. We'll set up a visit. It would have been cheaper than the contact of Pinkertons. I agree with you. The material hasn't really been very good. Yeah, I think it's getting there, Thomas. Thomas Anderson says, I would say this is where we push to have an open source system fully and use the advance of tech to put out physical copies of anything we need. I think it's already there. We're close to it. We're pretty damn close to it. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they threatened the guy with prison and made his wife cry. Thugs. Yeah. Oh yeah. Hell's yeah. If you hire the Pinkertons, that's what's going to happen. They act like, oh well, we didn't say that, but really, really, that's like me walking out my door, finding a local drug dealer, and going, hey, I need you to talk to somebody, and not expecting threats and legalities and violence and intimidation. That's literally their job. That's what they're made. They made their reputation off of that. Yeah, Death Angel says, I don't even like Magic the Gathering. What they did to that guy was wrong. Hell yeah. What I guess my thing is, what other decisions did they make before they got to that one? Right? Who in the company was like raised their hand and went, I don't think this is a good idea. Yeah, Inky. So yeah, this is a perfect summary of how excited we seem to be for this streaming channel. Like I said, if January never happened, we would have been excited about this. Yeah. God, damn, 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 damn. They threatened the guy. Had that tweet. We walking. Yep, 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 yep. The leak of the Walking Dead episode. Yeah, I mean they could have. Yep, the spoiler was free advertising. Um, they could have used this dude to talk about like Magic Gathering and promote it and go like they if they had embraced the mistake, I think it would have been better because then they go, oh, what Wizards of I mean, Magic Gathering said, oh man, new cards leaked out before the previous thing. Hey guys, if you look around, you may see a sneak preview of this thing out there. Somebody out there got these cards. It was a mistake on our part, but hey, take a look at the new stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I gotta get. Yeah, it's time to go. It's time for me to go. It's 7:30 for me. Yep, it's 7:30 on my time. All right, guys. Yeah, Desiree says, suffice it to say, I won't be subscribing to their fast channel. Acronyms. God, I wonder how much somebody got paid to come up with that. Anyway, guys, let's have a great one. Gotta get out of here. You guys have a great day. I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but it's going to be the. I gotta go on my own journey, walking up and down a boulevard, delivering mail. And side note, if you know anyone anywhere that wants a great paying job, full benefits, please join the post office, become a letter carrier. We need you. Um, starting out at $22 an hour. Um, Maxing out. What's our top salary? 76,000. Double that in overtime. It's great. If you need a job out there, you know somebody that needs a job. Hell, you got some enemies out there. We would love to use you. We need you. Anyway, guys, have a great day. I know most of us are too old to start walking up and down the streets and driving vehicles, things like that. Hey, we're gonna have brand new big forehead vehicles. I can't wait for those. Yeah. There already is one. It's called The Postman with Kevin Costner. Mm-mm-mm. Anyway, yep. Everybody needs sleep. Get out of here. I'm taking up too much of your time. Ooh, that was a rule letter carrier. I'm too much in the city. We're all city carriers, but I'm close to some rural stations: Reynoldsburg, Pickerington, Dublin, West Worthington. Those are places that have like the rural areas. But I'm in Central Ohio, Franklin County. Yeah. Yeah. Oh no! Don't turn it into TTRPG. You're instead of hit points, you have letters in your bag. I've got 37 letters to deliver. That enemy shot at me. I lost 5 of them. Oh no! I've got 3 packages that fuels my special powers. I'm gonna use one of my packages. Oh no. Yeah, yeah. Jason Voorhees started as a mail carrier. True story. No. No, no, no. No, he didn't. Oh, wow. Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. I love it. The Castaway. You're so silly. Guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace.